The moment you stop trying to change everything is the moment everything begins to change. Does this sound backwards to you? Does it contradict everything you've been taught about achievement, about success, about transformation? Good. Your confusion is the first crack in the wall of illusion you've built around yourself. Most people spend their entire lives pushing against the river of existence, fighting the current, exhausting themselves in battles that were never meant to be fought. They wake up tired, they go to sleep frustrated, they live in a constant state of resistance, believing that more effort, more force, more struggle will finally deliver them to the life they desire. You are not most people. The ancient masters understood something that modern minds have forgotten. They knew that true power flows not from action, but from the quality of being that gives birth to action. They knew that the warrior who conquers himself is mightier than the one who conquers 1,000 enemies. They knew that stillness contains all movement, that silence holds all sound, that emptiness embraces all form. Right now, as you listen to these words, your mind is creating stories. It's judging, it's comparing, it's planning what it will do with this information. It's already 3 steps ahead or 3 steps behind, but never here, never now, never present to the simple truth that is trying to speak itself through the noise of your thoughts. This is the first thing you must see. You are not your mind. You are the one who observes the mind. You are the awareness in which thoughts arise and pass away like clouds in an endless sky. Your mind tells you that you are the collection of your thoughts, your emotions, your reactions, your automatic responses. Your mind tells you that you are your job, your relationships, your successes, your failures. Your mind tells you that happiness comes from getting what you want and avoiding what you don't want. The mind lies. What if I told you that every problem you think you have is actually a problem with how you're thinking about the problem? What if I told you that the very effort to fix yourself is what keeps you broken? What if I told you that the moment you stop trying to become someone else is the moment you discover who you actually are? Most people live their lives like actors who have forgotten they're in a play. They take every role so seriously, every scene so personally, every script so literally that they lose themselves completely in the performance. They become their character. They forget the stage. They forget the audience. They forget they have a choice in how they respond to each line, each cue, each unexpected moment. You have been living in a trance, not a mystical trance, not a supernatural trance, but the trance of automatic living, the trance of unconscious reaction, the trance of believing that your thoughts are you, that your emotions are you, that your patterns are you. Every morning you wake up and step into the same character you were yesterday. You think the same thoughts, you feel the same feelings, you make the same choices, you react in the same ways, you live the same day over and over again, calling it a life. But what if today could be different? What if this moment could be the moment you wake up from the trance? What if right now, as you listen to these words, something ancient and powerful is stirring within you? The greatest revolution happens not in the streets, but in the space between your thoughts. The greatest victory is not won on a battlefield, but in the silence of your own awareness. The greatest transformation occurs not through adding more to your life, but through subtracting everything that isn't truly you. Most people believe that change requires effort. They believe that transformation demands struggle. They believe that growth means pain. This is the first lie you must recognize. The seed doesn't struggle to become a tree. The river doesn't effort to reach the ocean. The sun doesn't strain to give light. Nature transforms through surrender, not force. Nature evolves through cooperation, not competition. Nature grows through patience, not pressure. You are nature. You are part of the same intelligence that moves the planets, that beats your heart without your permission, that grows your hair, that heals your wounds, that dreams your dreams. This intelligence is not separate from you. It is you, the deepest you, the truest you. The you that exists before thought, before identity, before the story of who you think you are. But somewhere along the way, you learn to distrust this intelligence. You learn to override it with your thinking mind. You learn to plan and analyze and worry and control. You learn to live from your head instead of your heart, from your thoughts instead of your being, from your fears instead of your truth. The warrior knows something different. The warrior knows that true strength comes not from muscles, but from stillness, not from aggression, but from awareness, not from reaction, but from response. The warrior has learned to move from the center, to act from stillness, to speak from silence. Think of the master archer. Before he draws the bow, before he aims the arrow, before he releases the string, there is a moment of perfect stillness. In that stillness, he becomes one with the target.
In that stillness, he transcends the separation between archer and goal. In that stillness, hitting the center becomes inevitable. This is the first secret of transformation. Before you can change anything in your life, you must first become still enough to see what actually needs to change. Before you can respond to life, you must first stop reacting to life. Before you can choose your direction, you must first find your center. Right now, your life is running on autopilot. Your reactions are automatic. Your responses are programmed. Your choices are habits in disguise. You think you're living, but you're actually being lived by patterns you inherited, patterns you absorbed, patterns you accepted without question. The prisoner who doesn't know he's in prison will never seek escape. The sleeper who doesn't know he's dreaming will never wake up. The actor who doesn't know he's performing will never break character. You have been a prisoner of your own mind. You have been asleep to your own power. You have been performing a role that was written for you by others. But here's what they didn't tell you. The prison door was never locked. The sleep was never permanent. The role was never mandatory. You can wake up. You can walk out. You can write your own script. Most people wait for permission to change. They wait for the right moment, the right circumstances, the right feeling. They wait for motivation, for inspiration, for someone else to show them the way. They wait for Monday, for next month, for next year, for when things settle down, for when they have more time, for when they have more money, for when they have more energy. The warrior doesn't wait. The warrior chooses. The warrior acts. The warrior begins now with what is available from where he stands. But here's the paradox. The warrior's action comes from non-action. The warrior's movement comes from stillness. The warrior's strength comes from surrender. What does it mean to surrender? Does it mean giving up? Does it mean becoming passive? Does it mean accepting defeat? No. Surrender means stopping the fight against what is, so you can see what's actually possible. Surrender means releasing your grip on how you think things should be, so you can respond to how things actually are. Right now, you are fighting reality. You are resisting what is. You are arguing with life itself. And life always wins. Life doesn't care about your opinions. Life doesn't adjust to your preferences. Life simply is, and you can either flow with it or exhaust yourself fighting against it. The river doesn't fight the rocks in its path. It flows around them, over them, through them. The river doesn't waste energy wishing the rocks weren't there. The river accepts what is and finds the way that is. You are the river. Your thoughts are the rocks. Your emotions are the rocks. Your circumstances are the rocks. You can flow around them, over them, through them, or you can crash against them until you're broken and scattered and lost.
Most people choose the rocks. They focus on the obstacles. They give their energy to the problems. They make their problems bigger by thinking about them, talking about them, worrying about them, planning around them, fighting against them. What you focus on grows. What you resist persists. What you fight becomes stronger. The master understands this. The master doesn't fight the darkness. The master becomes the light. The master doesn't argue with ignorance. The master embodies wisdom. The master doesn't battle against chaos. The master cultivates order within himself. You cannot change the world until you change yourself. You cannot heal others until you heal yourself. You cannot give what you don't have. You cannot teach what you don't know. You cannot lead where you haven't been. But here's the miracle. The moment you truly change yourself, everything around you begins to change. The moment you find peace within yourself, you become a source of peace for others. The moment you discover your own power, you inspire others to find theirs. This is not positive thinking. This is not wishful hoping. This is not magical believing. This is natural law. This is how consciousness works. This is how transformation happens. You are not separate from the world. You are not isolated from others. You are not disconnected from life. You are woven into the fabric of existence itself. When you change, the entire fabric shifts. When you heal, the healing ripples outward. When you awaken, you become a beacon for others who are ready to wake up. But first you must become still. You must learn to observe. You must remember how to breathe. You must discover the space between your thoughts, the silence between your words, the stillness between your movements. In that space, in that silence, in that stillness, you will find what you've been looking for all along. You will find what was never lost, what was never broken, what was never lacking. You will find yourself, not the self you think you are, not the self others told you to be, not the self you wish you were, the self you actually are, the self that exists before concepts, before judgments, before the need to be anything other than what you naturally are. This self is not weak, this self is not broken, this self is not lacking, this self is whole, complete, perfect, exactly as it is. This self doesn't need to be fixed because it was never broken. This self doesn't need to be improved because it is already perfect. This self doesn't need to become anything because it already is everything it needs to be. The only thing standing between you and this self is the belief that you are something other than this self. The only thing preventing you from accessing this power is the thought that you don't already have this power. The only thing stopping you from living this truth is the story that you are anything other than this truth. Most people spend their lives trying to become who they think they should be, never realizing they are already who they need to be. They chase after qualities they already possess. They search for abilities they already have. They long for a peace that is already present, a strength that is already available, a wisdom that is already alive within them. The one-year plan is not about becoming someone new. The one-year plan is about remembering who you've always been. It's about peeling away the layers of conditioning that have covered your true nature, like dust on a mirror. It's about returning to your original face, your authentic self, your unconditional being. This year, you will not add more to your life. You will subtract everything that isn't truly you. You will not acquire new skills. You will remember abilities you've forgotten. You will not become powerful. You will acknowledge the power that has always been yours. And it begins now, not tomorrow, not next week, not when you feel ready. Now, in this moment, with this breath, with this choice, with this recognition that you are not who you think you are, and that is the most liberating truth you will ever encounter. The paradox reveals itself. By trying to change everything, you change nothing. By accepting everything, everything changes. By forcing nothing, everything flows. By grasping nothing, everything comes to you. This is the way of the warrior. This is the path of the master. This is the beginning of your transformation. Recognition without practice is merely intellectual entertainment. Understanding without application is just sophisticated ignorance. You now see the paradox, but seeing is only the beginning. The warrior must train. The student must practice. The seeker must walk the path. How do you breathe right now? Don't change it. Don't improve it. Don't fix it. Simply observe it. Is it shallow or full? Is it rushed or calm? Is it in your chest or in your belly? Is it smooth or choppy? Your breath is the most honest mirror of your inner state. It reflects your thoughts before you think them. It reveals your emotions before you feel them. It shows your level of presence before you realize you've been absent. Most people breathe like they live, unconsciously, automatically, without awareness, without choice. They breathe like victims of their own biology, slaves to their nervous system, prisoners of their reactions. They breathe in anxiety, breathe in stress, breathe in the chaos of their minds, and wonder why they feel suffocated by their own lives. The master breathes differently. The master breathes like the mountain breathes, slowly, deeply, with complete awareness. The master breathes like the ocean breathes, rhythmically, powerfully, with natural intelligence. The master breathes like the earth breathes, patiently, sustainably, with perfect timing. Your breath is your first teacher. It has been with you since your first moment of life. It will be with you until your last. It never lies. It never pretends. It never tries to be anything other than what it is. It simply responds to your state of being with perfect accuracy. When you are afraid, your breath becomes shallow. When you are angry, your breath becomes rapid. When you are sad, your breath becomes irregular. When you are peaceful, your breath becomes slow and full. When you are present, your breath becomes natural and effortless. But here's what most people don't understand. The relationship works both ways. Your state affects your breath, but your breath also affects your state. Change your breathing, and you change your being. Transform your breath, and you transform your life. The ancient masters knew this. They knew that breath is the bridge between the conscious and unconscious mind. They knew that breath is the gateway between the voluntary and involuntary nervous system. They knew that breath is the secret passage between the world of form and the world of spirit. Right now, take one conscious breath. Not a big breath, not a perfect breath. Just one conscious breath. Feel the air entering your nostrils. Feel your chest expanding. Feel your belly rising. Feel the at the top. Feel the air leaving your body. Feel your chest falling. Feel your belly sinking. Feel the at the bottom. In that one conscious breath, you touched your power. In that one conscious breath, you remembered your choice. In that one conscious breath, you stepped out of automatic living and into conscious being. The warrior's breath is his anchor. When the mind races, the breath steadies. When emotions surge, the breath calms. When chaos erupts, the breath centers. The warrior knows that he can lose everything external. But as long as he has his breath, he has his power. But breathing is just the foundation. The second pillar is even more subtle, even more powerful, even more transformative. What are you thinking right now? Can you step back from that thought and observe it? Can you watch it without becoming it? Can you see it without being it? Most people live inside their thoughts like fish live in water. They don't even know they're wet. They don't realize they have a choice. They don't understand that thoughts are just mental events, not ultimate reality. They become every thought, believe every thought, follow every thought, wherever it leads them. The master stands behind the thoughts.
The master watches the thoughts come and go like clouds in the sky. The master observes the thoughts without judgment, without attachment, without identification. The master knows that he is not his thoughts. He is the awareness in which thoughts arise. This is the art of observation. This is the practice of witnessing. This is the skill of conscious awareness.
But observation is not passive. Observation is not weak. Observation is not resignation. True observation is the most powerful force in the universe. True observation transforms whatever it touches. True observation is love in action. When you observe your anger without becoming angry, the anger loses its power over you. When you observe your fear without becoming afraid, the fear dissolves. When you observe your sadness without becoming sad, the sadness passes through you like weather through the sky. The untrained mind becomes every emotion. The trained mind observes every emotion. The untrained mind is tossed around by every thought. The trained mind watches every thought. The untrained mind reacts to every stimulus. The trained mind responds from awareness. How do you train this capacity? How do you develop this skill? How do you strengthen this muscle of awareness? The same way you strengthen any muscle, through consistent, gentle, patient practice. Start with your breath. As you breathe consciously, observe the thoughts that arise. Don't fight them. Don't judge them. Don't try to stop them. Simply watch them, notice them, acknowledge them. Then return your attention to your breath. Thought arises, you notice. You return to breath. Thought arises, you notice. You return to breath. Thought arises, you notice. You return to breath. This is not meditation. This is life. This is how you live consciously. This is how you break free from the trance of automatic thinking. This is how you reclaim your power from the chaos of your mind. The warrior observes his thoughts the way a shepherd observes his flock. He doesn't become the sheep. He doesn't get lost in the herd. He maintains his position, his perspective, his choice. He guides without controlling, watches without judging, cares without clinging. But even observation has its limits. Even awareness has its challenges. Even the most conscious person encounters situations that trigger automatic reactions. This is where the third pillar becomes essential. Between every stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space lies your freedom. In that space lies your power. In that space lies your choice. Most people have no space. They react instantly, automatically, unconsciously. Something happens, and they immediately respond with anger, fear, judgment, or defense. They live in a world of immediate reactions, where every external event directly controls their internal state. The master has space. The master has time. The master has choice. When something happens, the master ends. In that, the master considers. In that consideration, the master chooses. In that choice, the master responds rather than reacts. This space is not natural. This space is not automatic. This space must be created. This space must be cultivated. This space must be practiced until it becomes as natural as breathing. How do you create this space? How do you insert choice into the automatic flow of reaction? First, you must catch yourself reacting. You must notice the moment when your body tenses, when your breath changes, when your thoughts race, when your emotions surge. You must develop the sensitivity to feel the reaction before it takes over completely. This requires tremendous honesty. This requires brutal self-awareness. This requires the courage to see yourself clearly, without excuses, without justifications, without stories about why your reaction was appropriate. The warrior takes responsibility for his reactions. The warrior doesn't blame others for his responses. The warrior doesn't justify his automatic behaviors. The warrior sees clearly, I am reacting, I have choice, I can respond differently. But seeing is not enough, knowing is not enough, understanding is not enough. You must practice, you must train, you must build the capacity to choose differently in the heat of the moment. Start small. Start with minor irritations. Start with small disappointments. Start with everyday frustrations. When someone cuts you off in traffic, when someone speaks rudely to you, when something doesn't go according to plan, notice your reaction. Feel the impulse to respond automatically. Then choose differently. Take one breath. Feel your feet on the ground. Relax your shoulders. Soften your jaw. Ask yourself, what would serve here? What would a conscious person do? What response would I be proud of later? Then choose. Then act. Then respond from awareness, rather than react from programming. The untrained person reacts to everything. The trained person responds to everything.
The untrained person is controlled by circumstances. The trained person chooses how to relate to circumstances. The untrained person is a victim of his reactions. The trained person is the master of his responses. This practice will transform every relationship in your life. This practice will change how you work, how you parent, how you love, how you live. This practice will free you from the prison of automatic behavior and give you the power to create your life consciously. But even conscious response has its foundation. Even mindful choice has its source. Even awakened action has its root. The fourth pillar is the most important, the most powerful, the most transformative. What would your life look like if you lived from your deepest truth? What would change if you acted from your highest wisdom? What would be different if you responded from your most authentic self? Most people live from their wounds. They make decisions based on their fears. They choose based on their insecurities. They react based on their past pain. They create their future from their old patterns. The master lives from his essence. The master acts from his truth. The master chooses from his wisdom. The master responds from his authentic nature. The master creates from his unlimited potential. But what is your essence? What is your truth? What is your authentic nature? How do you access this deeper self? Your essence is what remains when everything else is stripped away. Your truth is what you know when you stop thinking about what you know. Your authentic nature is who you are when you're not trying to be anyone else. This is not a concept to understand. This is not a theory to believe. This is not a philosophy to study. This is a reality to experience. This is a truth to embody. This is a way of being to live. Most people spend their entire lives trying to become someone else. They try to be more successful, more attractive, more intelligent, more spiritual, more whatever they think they should be. They exhaust themselves trying to improve, to grow, to evolve, to transform into someone better. The master stops trying to become. The master simply is. The master recognizes that he already is what he's been seeking. The master sees that he already has what he's been looking for. The master realizes that he already is whole, complete, perfect as he is. This is not complacency. This is not laziness. This is not resignation. This is recognition. This is acceptance. This is the foundation of all real transformation. You cannot build a house on quicksand. You cannot grow a tree in poisoned soil. You cannot create a life from self-rejection. You cannot transform from a foundation of inadequacy. The warrior stands on solid ground. The warrior builds from strength, not weakness. The warrior creates from wholeness, not lack. The warrior transforms from love, not fear. This recognition changes everything. When you know that you are already enough, you stop trying to prove your worth. When you know that you are already whole, you stop trying to fix yourself. When you know that you are already perfect, you stop trying to improve yourself. This doesn't mean you stop growing. This doesn't mean you stop learning. This doesn't mean you stop evolving. It means you grow from abundance, not scarcity. It means you learn from curiosity, not inadequacy. It means you evolve from joy, not judgment. The flower doesn't try to become beautiful. The flower simply blooms. The river doesn't try to become powerful. The river simply flows. The mountain doesn't try to become strong. The mountain simply stands.
You don't need to try to become anything. You simply need to be what you already are. You don't need to acquire anything. You simply need to express what you already have. You don't need to achieve anything. You simply need to allow what is already present. Throughout this year, you will practice these 4 pillars. You will breathe consciously. You will observe without judgment. You will respond rather than react. You will live from your essence rather than your wounds. These are not separate practices. These are not isolated techniques. These are 4 aspects of one way of being. These are 4 facets of one diamond. These are 4 expressions of one truth. The conscious breath creates the foundation for observation. Observation creates the space for response. Response creates the opportunity for authentic expression. Authentic expression creates the circumstances for conscious breathing. Each pillar supports the others. Each practice strengthens the others. Each moment of awareness builds the capacity for more awareness. Each conscious choice makes the next conscious choice easier. You will not master these overnight. You will not perfect these in a week. You will not complete these in a month. These are lifelong practices, eternal principles, ways of being that deepen and mature over time. But you will begin to see changes immediately. You will notice shifts in your first week. You will experience transformations in your first months. You will recognize a different person in your first year. The changes will be subtle at first. You will catch yourself breathing consciously at random moments. You will notice yourself observing your thoughts instead of becoming them. You will find yourself pausing before reacting. You will discover yourself acting from truth instead of fear. These small changes will compound. These subtle shifts will accumulate. These gentle transformations will build into a complete revolution of your way of being. Others will notice before you do. Others will see the change in your presence. Others will feel the shift in your energy. Others will recognize the transformation in your responses. You will become a different person while remaining exactly who you've always been. You will transform completely while changing nothing essential. You will evolve dramatically while returning to your original nature. This is the paradox of authentic transformation. This is the mystery of conscious growth. This is the secret of real change. And it all begins with your next breath, your next observation, your next choice, your next moment of living from truth instead of fear. The practices are simple. The principles are clear. The path is direct. What remains is your commitment, your consistency, your courage to live differently than you've ever lived before. The practices become you. The pillars become your foundation. The principles become your nature. But what happens when life tests everything you've learned? What happens when chaos erupts around you? What happens when people challenge your peace? When circumstances threaten your center? When the world seems determined to pull you back into unconscious reaction? This is where mastery reveals itself. This is where transformation proves its worth. This is where you discover whether you've truly changed or simply accumulated more concepts about change. The untrained person sees problems everywhere. The trained person sees opportunities everywhere. The untrained person is defeated by obstacles. The trained person is strengthened by obstacles. The untrained person avoids difficulty. The trained person welcomes difficulty as a teacher. When someone criticizes you harshly, what happens to your breath? When you fail at something important, what happens to your awareness? When you lose something you value, what happens to your response? When you face rejection, betrayal, or disappointment, do you return to old patterns or do you demonstrate new mastery? The warrior knows that every challenge is a test, every difficulty is an examination, every setback is a question. Who are you now? Have you really changed or have you simply been practicing in comfortable conditions? Most people practice presence when life is peaceful. They maintain awareness when nothing is disturbing them. They breathe consciously when they feel calm. They respond wisely when they're not triggered. But the moment pressure increases, the moment stakes rise, the moment emotions surge, they abandon everything they've learned and return to the safety of familiar reactions. The master is different. The master has been forged in the fire of real challenges. The master has practiced not just in meditation cushions, but in traffic jams. Not just in quiet rooms, but in heated arguments. Not just in solitude, but in the chaos of daily life. Think of the mountain during a storm. Does the mountain panic? Does the mountain fight against the wind? Does the mountain try to stop the rain? The mountain remains itself. The mountain allows the storm to pass through, over, around. The mountain is unmoved by temporary weather, because the mountain knows its true nature. You are the mountain. Your challenges are the weather. Your problems are temporary storms that pass across the unchanging landscape of your essential being. But most people forget this. Most people become the weather, instead of remaining the mountain. When you truly embody the four pillars, obstacles become opportunities for deeper practice. Difficulties become invitations to demonstrate mastery. Challenges become chances to prove that your transformation is real, not just theoretical. Someone speaks to you with anger. Instead of matching their energy, you breathe consciously. You observe their pain without taking it personally. You before responding. You speak from your truth rather than your wound. You transform the entire interaction through your presence. You lose a job you valued. Instead of collapsing into victim consciousness, you breathe through the shock. You observe the fear without becoming the fear. You feel the disappointment without drowning in it. You respond by asking, what is this situation teaching me? What opportunity is hidden within this apparent loss? You face financial pressure. Instead of panicking or forcing solutions, you center yourself in what you cannot lose, your awareness, your breath, your ability to choose your response. You act from clarity rather than desperation. You make decisions from wisdom rather than fear. This is not positive thinking. This is not denial. This is not spiritual bypassing. This is conscious living. This is responding to life from your deepest truth rather than your surface reactions. The transformed person doesn't avoid problems. The transformed person relates to problems differently. The transformed person doesn't escape difficulty. The transformed person finds meaning within difficulty. The transformed person doesn't eliminate challenges. The transformed person grows through challenges. But here's what few people understand. Your transformation affects everyone around you. Your peace becomes contagious. Your presence becomes healing. Your awareness becomes a gift to others. When you remain centered in chaos, others feel permission to find their own center. When you respond with wisdom to foolishness, others remember their own wisdom. When you choose love in the face of fear, others remember their capacity for love. You become a tuning fork for consciousness. Your vibration helps others remember their own frequency. Your example gives others permission to change. Your transformation proves that transformation is possible. This is not something you do intentionally. This is not a strategy to influence others. This is simply the natural effect of authentic presence. Light dispels darkness, not by fighting it, but by being light. Water cleanses not by forcing, but by flowing. Love heals not by trying, but by loving. Your family begins to notice something different about you. Your colleagues sense a shift in your energy.
Your friends recognize a change in your responses. They may not understand what has happened, but they feel the difference. Some will be inspired, some will be curious, some will ask what you've been doing differently, but some will resist. Some will try to pull you back into old patterns. Some will test your transformation to see if it's real.
The master expects this. The master doesn't take it personally. The master understands that when you change, you challenge others to examine their own lives. When you grow, you reflect their own potential. When you transform, you mirror their own possibility. Not everyone is ready for this mirror. Not everyone welcomes this reflection. Not everyone appreciates this reminder of what's possible. Some people need others to remain stuck so they can justify their own stagnation. But the warrior doesn't shrink to make others comfortable. The warrior doesn't dim his light to avoid standing out. The warrior doesn't return to unconsciousness to maintain familiar relationships. The warrior continues to grow regardless of others' reactions. This requires tremendous courage. This requires fierce commitment. This requires unshakable dedication to your own evolution. Because the easy path is to go back to sleep, to return to automatic living, to abandon your practices when they become inconvenient. But you've tasted awakening, you've experienced presence, you've felt the power of conscious choice. You cannot unknow what you now know. You cannot unfeel what you felt. You cannot return to unconsciousness permanently. As the months pass, your transformation deepens. What once required effort becomes natural. What once demanded conscious attention becomes automatic. What once felt like practice becomes your natural way of being. Your breath finds its rhythm without your direction. Your awareness maintains itself without strain. Your responses arise from wisdom without forced choice. Your authenticity expresses itself without pretense. But this is not the end of the journey. This is not graduation from the school of consciousness. This is not completion of your evolution. This is simply the beginning of a deeper phase of growth. The master knows that mastery is not a destination, but a direction. The master knows that awakening is not an achievement, but a commitment. The master knows that transformation is not an event, but a way of life. Each day brings new opportunities to practice. Each interaction offers chances to demonstrate presence. Each challenge provides openings for deeper wisdom. Each moment contains the possibility of greater awareness. You will continue to grow. You will continue to learn. You will continue to evolve. But now you grow from strength rather than weakness. Now you learn from curiosity rather than inadequacy. Now you evolve from love rather than fear. The seasonal nature of transformation reveals itself. There are periods of rapid growth like spring when new insights bloom and old patterns shed easily. There are periods of consolidation like summer when you integrate what you've learned and enjoy the fruits of your practice. There are periods of release like autumn when you let go of what no longer serves and prepare for deeper transformation. There are periods of rest like winter when growth happens below the surface and patience becomes your primary practice. Understanding these cycles prevents frustration. Expecting continuous linear progress leads to disappointment. Accepting the natural rhythm of growth creates space for authentic development. Some days your practice feels effortless. Some days your awareness flows naturally. Some days your responses arise from pure wisdom. Other days you struggle. Other days you forget. Other days you fall back into old patterns. The master doesn't judge these fluctuations. The master doesn't make his worth dependent on his performance. The master doesn't abandon his path because of temporary setbacks. The master recognizes that even the most awakened human being continues to learn, continues to grow, continues to refine his understanding. This recognition brings tremendous relief. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to never make mistakes. You don't have to always respond from your highest wisdom. You simply have to remain committed to conscious living, willing to learn from every experience, dedicated to growing through every challenge. The year completes its cycle. You look back at who you were 12 months ago. You remember your old patterns, your automatic reactions, your unconscious habits. You recognize how far you've traveled, how much you've changed, how different your life has become. But more importantly, you look forward. You see the endless possibilities that await. You feel the excitement of continued growth. You sense the adventure of deeper awakening. You know that this year of transformation was not an ending but a beginning. But the practices that once felt foreign now feel natural. The principles that once seemed difficult now seem obvious. The way of being that once required effort now requires no effort at all. You have become what you practiced. You have embodied what you learned. You have integrated what you experienced. Others look to you for guidance. Others ask for your secret. Others want to know how you changed so dramatically. And you tell them the truth. There is no secret technique, no magical formula, no hidden knowledge. There is only commitment. There is only practice. There is only the willingness to choose consciousness over unconsciousness, response over reaction, truth
truth over conditioning, moment after moment, day after day, until transformation becomes your natural way of being. The paradox that began this journey reveals its full meaning. You stopped trying to change everything, and everything changed. You surrendered the need to control and found true power. You accepted what is and discovered infinite possibility. You are no longer who you were when this year began. You are no longer living the life you were living when you first heard these words. You are no longer trapped by the patterns that once seemed permanent, the reactions that once felt inevitable, the limitations that once appeared real. You have awakened from the trance of automatic living. You have stepped out of the prison of unconscious reaction. You have claimed your birthright as a conscious being, a responsive creator, an awakened participant in the mystery of existence. But the greatest realization is this: you didn't become someone new. You simply remembered who you've always been. You didn't acquire something foreign. You simply reclaimed what was always yours. You didn't transform into a different person. You simply returned to your original nature. The warrior within was always present. The wisdom within was always available. The peace within was always accessible. The love within was always alive. You simply learned to stop covering it with unconscious patterns, automatic reactions, and conditioned responses. Now you live from this truth. Now you act from this wisdom. Now you respond from this love. Now you breathe from this peace. This is your natural state. This is your authentic being. This is who you are when you stop trying to be anyone else. The transformation is complete, yet it continues. The journey is finished, yet it deepens. The year has ended, yet a new cycle begins. You have arrived at your destination, yet the path extends infinitely before you. You are the mountain that remains unmoved by weather. You are the river that flows around all obstacles. You are the light that dispels darkness, simply by being light. You are the love that heals, simply by loving. This is not the end. This is the beginning of living as who you truly are.